find out if she had understood me or didn't want to believe me. Did you say shark? She returned, still trying to catch her breath. Yes. I looked around and realized that we were far out into the ocean, hundreds of yards from shore. It must have looked hopeless being swept out into the middle of the ocean. Listen, I'll stay close to you. No sense in trying to swim against the current. Let's just try to get out of the current of the river, and then we can ride the waves back into shore. My toes tingled. I kept curling them under in anticipation that any moment the knife-like teeth of the shark would sever them. I wanted so much to swim fast as I could to shore, but I knew I had to stay with Teresa in case she got tired and needed my help to swim to shore. I couldn't believe that I was so stupid to tell her about the shark. Teresa stopped and struggled in the water. I looked around for a fin. I can't do it, she cried. No, you have to do it. I can't carry you. The adrenaline made me feel every bone in my body, but I couldn't use this newfound energy because I had to stick with Teresa. I looked around for signs of the shark, wondering if the shark would get Teresa first or not. She was now breathing often to rest, breathing hard often to rest. Looking at how far we had to go out in the water, she panted, I don't think I can make it. It's too far. Trying to contain my frustration, I answered, it's okay. You can do it. Just go as quickly as you can, and we will stop whenever you have to stop. Teresa started forward again, still panting and coughing. We were still far out into the ocean, but she was going forward, and that was good. Little by little, we made our way out of the current. She shrieked again. This time, I felt a dagger-like clench on my feet. I swung around in terror, but it was only Teresa trying to get my attention. She had a mouthful of water and was choking. I swam up to hold her up out of the water so she could catch her breath. Struggling to hold her above the water so she could cough out her lungs, I strained to ask, did you see the shark? No, I'm just so tired, she breathed. And the shore is so far away. Just rest on me for a while, I tried to sound calm. Just rest on me every once in a while, and we'll get in. Teresa seemed to settle down quite a bit, and we slowly got back underway. We only went a few strokes further when suddenly my feet kicked sand. Oh, blessed sand. But why was there sand so far out into the ocean? Oh, we hit a sandbar. I helped Teresa up and we stepped onto the sandbar. How about that? We hit a sandbar. We were overjoyed. On the shallowest part of the sandbar, the water stood around our knees. Thank goodness, no more sharks. Bending over, we laughed incontrollably, arm in arm. We stood around trying to catch our breath, laughing and sighing all the while. Our attention was drawn to the shore where a small group of people were waving, come on in, come on in. We stumbled in and they explained to us that this was a very dangerous place to swim. They told us that a few hundred meters out into the ocean, the current of the river met the current of the ocean tide and formed a whirlpool that would suck us down to the bottom of the ocean. They told us that just the previous month, 2 boys from the area had headed out into the ocean on a raft and were never seen again. Later that day, we went to the Mayan ruins with the others. We learned about the life of the Mayan before Hernán Cortés had arrived in Mexico. It wasn't thrilling, but we didn't mind. We had enough thrills for the day. Our thrill was the excitement of escape. Just as 500 years earlier, Mayans had escaped the sword of Cortez's army, we had escaped to go on and live and tell our story. About the author. Glenn Devoogd is a 3rd grade teacher at Pinecrest School. He has a beautiful wife, Karen, and a daughter named Skylar. He likes to travel to other... Well, I guess this is the same one. Same about the author. So, the idea for this story came from something that happened to me. Now, it doesn't have to actually have happened to me. It could have happened to someone else, right? I have other stories, though, too. One about gambling in the Wild West. Now, I was kind of angry. I read or I watched movies about gambling when I was a kid in the Wild West. It seemed like in the Wild West all they did was play cards and drink whiskey in saloons. And I was angry about that because most people thought that's what they did. And so I wrote a book about what they actually did, which was a lot more farming. And actually I had help the kids do the pictures on this book. So I drew some of the pictures and some of my students drew some of the other pictures. I also have a picture of a journal of scientific research. Some kids, have you ever done this? Grown plants? One plant you grow next to the window, one plant you grow in the cupboard, one plant you grow like in your desk or on the floor or something. You see which one grows the best? Well, we did some of those kinds of experiments, and then we wrote them up in books, in articles rather, like this, and with pictures on them, showed exactly what we did and how the experiment came out. And then all the kids in the class, or a lot of kids, they read about animals and they wrote some ideas out, and they submitted articles to this journal. I wrote about a happy birthday party that I had with my wife when we were angry with each other, and my daughter kind of solved the problem. So I'm thinking about all those different kinds of ways of things that I write and I need to write. Now, I do writing because that's part of my job as a professor. So one of the other things I wanted to, I'm writing just before I came here today. I read this book called Electronic Literacies, Language, Culture, and Power in an online class, and I had to read the book and then write a review on it, right? So here is my review, and actually I wrote the review, and there was a fellow that we sent the review to, an editor, and he wrote back and had some comments about it. He wanted us to change it a little bit, to make it a better article. In general, a little more information about how technology was used would be informative to our readers. That's one of the things he wrote. And then he said, in some places, can you give some examples here? Can you tell me more there? Can you illustrate your ideas? I'm not sure I understand this point. So now I have to revise that. So as a skilled writer, even though I'm skilled, I still need an editor, someone to help me out. So I write book reviews. So that's one of the things you can do. So I'm thinking now about what kinds of things, we have a fat marker? Yeah. What kinds of things, what kind of writing I need to do right now. I'm going to come up with a list of topics, then I'll give you a chance to come up with a list of topics.